Joining us now, he's always in the money. That's Sheriff David Clarke from Milwaukee, now of Chicago. So there will be no burning down the convention hall in Milwaukee. Joe Biden is going to be the nominee, and he's going to run away with it. Probably get 2,500 delegates on the first ballot. Only needs 1,900. A lot of pressure on Bernie today to drop out because, well, the race is about over. He can't win. He can't be the nominee. This is an arranged marriage between Joe Biden and the apparatchiks, the Politburo at the DNC. Joining us now to break this down, Sheriff David Clarke, America's Sheriff, also senior advisor to WeBuildTheWall.us, and he's with us now. Sheriff Clarke, great to have you.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it. You know, it is looking more and more like Biden is the guy. The way the Democrats proportion their delegates out, even though there's 25 states to go or something like that, 28 states, the way they proportion their delegates out, it's going to be very tough for Bernie Sanders. But my hope is that he stays in there. He exposes Joe Biden as a flawed candidate because of the way the Democrat Party, the DNC, has treated Bernie Sanders. They cheated him out of the nomination in 2016, and this year they coalesced. None of this is illegal, but the way they've treated Bernie Sanders, he ought to be incensed by this. He can't display it, he can't show it, but he can do a couple things to hurt this party because of the way they treated him. He can run a third party entry into this race. That's not likely. He could do it, but more than that, he still has a lot of followers, and he can walk, tell his voters or his supporters stay out, or in a dog whistle fashion. He wouldn't do that publicly, but there's still some damage that he can inflict on this party for the way that he was treated.
Look, Sheriff, I hear what you're saying. Not going to happen, in all due respect. Bernie's a pillow fighter. He's going to drop out in the next 2 weeks. Even in the debate in Arizona, he's not going to lay a glove on Joe. He didn't do it with Hillary. He's not going to do it. He's not going to bring up his dementia. He's not going to bring up his gaffes. He's not going to bring up this stupid fight he had, which I'm going to play for you in a couple minutes. He's not going to talk about all the bad decisions Biden made. He's just not going to do it. He's a pillow fighter. At the end of the day, he's going to back Biden like everybody else and fall in line. So, I mean, the fact that he's staying in the race or not staying in the race, I mean, he has a history of not fighting back. But this thing's over. There's no pathway for him to be the nominee. The pressure on him to get out is really going to rise. And what they're going to want to do is try to get his Bernie bros in line. I'm not sure they can do that, but that's what they're going to try to do. Now, here's my question. Biden's only path to victory here, Sheriff, in my judgment, is resurrecting the Obama-Biden coalition and getting 94% of the African-American vote and get them out to vote the way they did in 8 and 12. Can they do that?
Sure, they can do it. I don't know about, let me think about this for a minute, because the Obama aura didn't really materialize for Mrs. Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton in 2016. And he did get out there. Remember the comment he made that she's the smartest person in the history of the country who's ever run for president? He tried everything, and it really didn't materialize. Now, the difference there to 2020 is that Joe Biden has a more familiar relationship with the black electorate, with black voters, especially in some of these southern states. And Hillary Clinton did not have that sort of emotional connection to those voters. But, the Obama juice, I think sometimes is overrated. I think it's overplayed. There's some effective things that he can do, but I still think the thrill is gone a little bit. All the hoopla over the first black president and so on and so forth. I don't know if it carries as much weight today. We'll find out. But that's what the Democrats are banking on right now, is a heavy turnout of black voters, and all the chips are in the middle of the table on that. They know how to do it. They know how to get it out, the vote out. They have a heck of a machine, a turnout vote. In those key states, in the battleground states, we shall see.
So Biden's going to be the nominee, break this campaign down for us. We're with Sheriff David Clarke, America's Sheriff. You can follow him there. Also, he is Senior Advisor, WeBuildAWall.us. Sheriff Clarke, break this campaign down for us. Obviously, it hinges on the economy, but a lot of people at the beginning thought Biden would be the toughest guy to beat. I did not, but I'm in the minority. Where does this campaign go? Biden's strengths and weaknesses, and how do we beat him?
Comes down to about 7 states. Not much changes here in these national elections. It's about 7 states. And, I advise people, you see these polls, I've seen them already now, the ones that do a head-to-head between Biden and President Trump. And they're saying Biden's leading in some of these areas. But we don't have a national election. We have a state by state, 50 state, and you got to, there's like 7 states that are going to determine this thing. Wisconsin's one of them, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Florida, Virginia, North Carolina, and a few others. And then that's about it because the other states are pretty solid. I'll be watching to see what goes on in Texas. The Democrats have been trying for the last couple of elections to win Texas. They're getting close. They're getting too close to comfort, if you ask me. And if people are looking for evidence of that, Ted Cruz won by about 1% in Texas over Beto O'Rourke, for heaven's sake, in the state of Texas.
I know, right?
So when you look at that, you can see that they're making gains.
Right.
I try to stay out of the, what is this election going to hinge on in terms of elements, like you mentioned the economy. Obama won re-election with a horrible economy. So, you look at some of this stuff, and it's more asymmetrical than linear. So I don't know. I mean, obviously the Trump campaign can play up the economy. That's on their side. I'd like to see a little more talk about the Supreme Court. That was very instrumental in President Trump in his first go-round. There's going to be several selections there. And then there's always the unknown. That X factor. Who thought coronavirus would, throw this thing off, right? And so between now and November, we don't know what's going to be front and center on the radar screen in people's minds. I guess that's why I say we got a long way to go in terms of this. The Democrats weaponized coronavirus, and the economy, the stock market anyway, took a hit. Because of the coronavirus. So, I don't know. There'll be a recovery here, though. This coronavirus will not be the end-all for President Trump, but the Democrats are throwing everything. Anything that comes along, they're just picking it up and throwing it, like they're hurling rocks. So they're going to have to withstand, the Trump campaign is going to have to withstand the barrage of rock throwing that goes on. But we have a fighter in President Trump. We have a guy who will punch back. We have a guy who will, metaphorically in politics, who will lead punch sometimes when he has to, and he has the ability to withstand. I mean, my gosh, look what he's been through in 3 years. Look at the lies, look at the smears, look at the corruption. Everything that could possibly happen in politics negatively happened to him. He's been able to get up off the mat. Actually, he hasn't been on the mat, but he's been able to get up and fight back. Going to be a tough campaign, I'll tell you that.
It's going to be bruising, but so is the one with Hillary. And like you say, 7 states basically determine it. They're going to fight in states that they want to turn blue, which is why he might pick Stacey Abrams, who was very popular in Georgia, although, her experience light. I mean, she's basically a state senator, ran for governor. But I think he's going to pick somebody that can win in one of these states. This is going to be old school politics, right? I mean, there was a time where you picked vice presidential candidates for the balance of power, whether you got along with them or not. You picked them in order to win, right? Johnson, Kennedy is the prime example for that. When Richard Nixon picked Spiro Agnew, he couldn't stand the guy, hated him. They never talked, but he wanted to win Maryland. And so he picked a very popular Maryland governor, right? Dukakis wanted to win Texas. He picked Lloyd Benston. The two had never had a conversation. They didn't agree on anything, right? Benston, blue dog, Dukakis, liberal. These things come to pass. We'll see what happens. All right, here's Joe Biden. Here's Biden's biggest vulnerability, Sheriff Clarke. Biggest one is a guy's temper is out of control. He screams at everybody. You can't challenge him. He wants to fight everybody behind the barn. I mean, the guy's he's something's wrong with this guy, Sheriff. He's not all there. Here's another example, right, where he's trying to fight somebody. The guy asked him a question about guns. Kara, let's run this. Cut 12, Joe Biden physically threatening a Detroit auto worker, saying you're full of SAT. Says he's gonna go outside and kick your ass. I mean, who does this? The guy's running for president. And what really ticked him off was when the auto worker said, "Hey, you work for me," which technically he does, but he didn't like that because, well, he's entitled. This is his biggest vulnerability, Sheriff. Cut 12.
How you intend on getting the union vote when there is a large portion of the union workers that are gun enthusiasts, and you are actively trying to diminish our Second Amendment right and take away our guns.
All right, thank you.
No, shush. I support the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment, just like right now, if you yell fire, that's not free speech. And from the very beginning, I have a shotgun, I have a 20 gauge, a 12 gauge, my sons hunt. Guess what? You're not allowed to own any weapon. I'm not taking your gun away at all. You need 100 rounds.
So when you were in Beto, when you said you're going to take our guns,
I did not say that. That's not true. I did not say that.
It's a viral video.
It's a viral video like the other ones they're putting out there. They're simply a lie.
Your voice. You said that you're taking the guns.
Well,
he
just
clarified
it. Wait. Take your AR-14s.
Okay, this is not okay.
Hold on.
All right.
Hey, let's
don't tell me
there's a lot of guys.
You're
outside and kick your ass. I mean, what? Every time the guy is confronted, he's going to go outside and kick somebody's ass. The guy's 78 years old. He can't do a push-up, for heaven's sake, Sheriff. What is wrong with this guy?
Cantankerous. There's no doubt about it. He's got some issues there, and I'm not a behavioral scientist or a psychiatrist or psychologist, so I don't want to get into defining what his issues are, but it's pretty evident right there. Look, the guy's a hothead. All right, he's the kind of guy that you don't want the proverbial, finger on the nuclear button. Okay, because he goes off at a moment's notice. You got to be level-headed when you're in this stuff. I'm a veteran of campaigns, ran 4 of them, and you're going to get goaded like that. It happens all the time. But the one thing you have to do is you have to keep your cool. Sometimes it's very difficult, but you have to do it. That was not a good look for not just Joe Biden, but for any candidate.
Right.
Because you have to, like I said, you have to be level-headed. That's what people want. They want calm and steady in the White House. It's the one thing that the people were saying that Trump couldn't do, and he's done it brilliantly. Always, keeps his cool, keeps his focus, doesn't lose it like Joe Biden did. And this is not going to stop. That's who Joe Biden is. Like I said, he some of this that's on display is who the guy is. And what's that phrase? Zebra doesn't change its stripes.
Yeah, exactly. It's a problem. And when you said the word cantankerous, Sheriff Clarke, you know what it reminded me of? When your parents get aged and they start losing it and they get really grumpy, right? Many of us have been through that. Certainly I have. So when you get cantankerous, it's like, oh, that's just Grandpa getting cantankerous because, after all, he is 87. And so things that didn't bother him at 80, at 87, piss him off, right? I mean, we've all experienced that in our family. Happened to my father, right? He got older and, things that he would roll with the punches and laugh. And now little things like, the TV was too loud or something. He really got upset and he got mad. He would get mad at everybody. I don't know. That's not dementia. I don't know what that is. It's just like you're old and cranky. And that's really where this guy is. That clip that is going to be played over and over, it's not the clip that I'd be concerned about if I was them. It's getting this guy out on the campaign trail on an everyday basis, engaging voters, engaging anybody. It is going to happen again because he obviously can't control it, right?
Yeah, he's a flawed candidate. The Democrats know that, though. They're whispering that to each other, but it's their best hope. Was that or Bernie Sanders when it came down to it. And so they know they're stuck with a flawed candidate. They're going to try to prop him up and, push him over the finish line here in November. I don't think it's going to work. They're going to have to hide Joe Biden. I think you're going to see less and less of him, especially once this thing, which is why they want Bernie Sanders out. They want him out in the worst way. It started last night, the chorus of people saying he needs to get out. I don't think he needs to get out, but we talked about that. But the thing is, they don't want Joe Biden exposed to the public. They don't want him having to do debates. They don't want him, having to go to auto plants and doing these campaign appearances because the guy just doesn't have it anymore. Okay, and that'll become more and more evident the more and more he's exposed to the public now that he's the front runner. And Sanders alluded to that, that now he's the front runner. And actually it was Mayor de Blasio that said it. Now his record will be scrutinized more, Joe Biden. Matter of fact, my piece on Town Hall this week will be on that. It's not up yet, but it should be up today or tomorrow. I talk about the flaws and the past of Joe Biden, and it's not very pretty, especially when it comes to race. So, the more that the more that Joe Biden's out there, the more America will get to know who this guy really is, and it's not pretty.
It's not pretty. Sheriff Clarke, you're so right. Okay, Sheriff, when am I going to see you back in Washington?
I'll work on it. Getting a little busy, but I'll be able to fit it in. I like coming out there.
All right. Well, we'll see you when you get here. And
happy birthday, by the way.
I know. Tomorrow I'm 62. I feel like a spring chicken. Hey, you know what I did? My wife, Ann, I got up a little too big there. So she put me on this diet. I should do a commercial. It's the Nutrisystem for men. Spent 2 months, spent the money, got it, kept me on it, bought a lot of vegetables. So in 3 weeks, I've lost 16 pounds. Not bad, right?
Wow.
Yeah, not bad. And I feel better.
Keep it up.
I feel better. Sheriff, great to have you with us.